Welcome to Shonen Show, Episode 8. I'm Evil Teddy Bear, and with me this week is Earth Dweller.
Hey.
Blood Edge.
Hey, guys.
And Lynch.
Yo, yo, yo.
So where do you guys normally start?
Well, we normally start with the new season, with the new shows for the season. So
Okay.
let's roll into that.
Yeah, just touch base on, kind of what's happened a bit. Yeah. And, I mean, obviously, I gave, again, stars totals last time, and some of them have changed. So.
Yep.
Oh, really? Have any of them gone catastrophically down?
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, reviews for active shows can be fluid.
Which is why we do this.
Yeah.
Yes.
Exactly.
So, what do you guys want to start with?
How about
start with a good one?
Yeah, let's start with a good one. How about My Love Story?
Yeah, My Love Story has been fantastic.
Oh, yeah.
I really have nothing bad to say about it. I really love the whole cutesy romance with non-stereotypical characters with this kind of like change of format, because Takeo is just a giant.
He's an ogre.
He's an ogre, yeah.
Well, it's not even a breakout from the stereotypical characters. It broke out from the stereotypical rom-com scenarios.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And for anyone who's like current with it, seeing how quickly things are progressing is different, and they're kind of taking chances with the story so far.
Well, they're doing what other anime don't do, where like they show what happens after the confession, and not everything leading up to the confession, and then just that's our story.
Oh,
Bye. Yeah.
And definitely Teddy Bear. This is one I recommend for both you and your wife. This is a must-watch. This is going from 4 stars last time to 5 stars in my mind.
Yeah, we'll have to check it out. Yeah.
It's a lot of fun to watch. It's real cute. If you like rom-coms, it's definitely one to keep an eye for.
Yeah, rom-coms I'm kind of weird on. They can't be with anime there's a very wide definition of like standard rom-com, but like we were talking about Date Alive earlier, which is it's a rom-com sort of harem show, but it's amazingly good. And like Unit 515, which is my wife, and I burnt through that 2 seasons in a day and a half. I mean, we just threw a weekend. We weren't feeling. I think we were there exhausted over after a convention, or we just weren't feeling well, and we're like, you know what? Let's just watch whatever. So we threw on the first episode of that because I had found it and really enjoyed it. I was like, oh, we got to check this out, and it kept getting better and better throughout the series. And I'm really kind of. I know we're talking about this after the second season. I can't remember how it ended as far as whether it left it open for another season or not, but I'd really like to see another season of that. I'd like to see what kind of other spirits they can add in or like develop. And because they did leave an unresolved issue with the one spirit, the one with the clock for an eye. I can't remember her name. But she's still out there. She's still around.
Yeah, the codename Nightmare.
The Nightmare, right? That's it. Yeah, because they didn't really resolve that plot hole, really.
No, yeah, definitely.
So they did kind of leave it open ended.
But definitely, if you like Date Alive, you'll enjoy My Love Story.
Okay, yeah, I'll have to check that out.
Is it showing on Funimation, or is it just Crunchyroll?
I think it's a Crunchyroll,
Okay.
possibly one of the third parties as well.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
But yeah, you have access to Crunchyroll now too.
Yep.
So.
Yep. Again.
Yeah. Again.
Yeah.
But I've been really digging it because it's fun. It's a light that like what was it? My Little Monster and what was the other one? Say I Love You. Where it's not about the journey to the point of confession. It's very much the what happens after, and I really dig it when they do that.
Did you? I don't think we ever really talked about. Did you like My Little Monster?
Yes, I loved it.
Yeah, I've read. The anime is only 13 episodes. It's kind of a teaser. The manga is phenomenal and continues it wonderfully. I actually really want them to continue the anime.
Yeah, but they nanoed it.
What?
They nanoed it.
Nanoed?
Nana.
if you want to know more, read the manga.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Which is what I did, actually. Yeah. But it was definitely worth it, and the anime actually is really good. So, but
did you give a star for it?
He said
it went up to 5.
Yep.
It's fantastic. It exceeded my expectations. So
The current show I've been watching most lately has been Assassination Classroom. I would easily give it right now 4 stars. I'm only halfway through the first season, only because The dub currently only goes up to episode, I think, 13 or 14. But I believe it's still in production. So I don't think the first season has really ended even in the Japanese
to
sub.
16, I think, in sub.
I think I think I actually saw the other day it was up to 18, but I can't be absolutely sure.
It might be. I just watched the
yeah.
most recent episode, but I can't remember what
number it is.
It's a really cool concept. There's some interesting character development, and the thing is, the main antagonist of the series, the concept is that there's this slimy octopus character that blew up the moon and is now teaching at a school, class 3E, which is basically like kind of the loser brigade. I mean, it's where they stick students when
They're
they
the
don't know what
class
to
F.
do. Yeah, they don't know what to do with them. Yeah, it's exactly it. It's kind of like Votech. And saying this as someone who's gone to Votech, it's a lot of schools just use that to dump students they don't know what to do with. So that's what class 3E is. But it's a super secret program at this point because by the end of graduation, they have to kill their teacher, this octopus character, or he will destroy the earth. But there's really good plot development. There's really good character development. And the other thing about that is the character being the main antagonist, you would think you're supposed to just like. It's a likable character. It's a super likable character, and he's good at teaching the students. He seems to really honestly have a love for the students in that sort of student teacher. I want to see you succeed. I want to see you get better sort of way. And it looks like he wants to get all of the students back into the main classes. That's like his ultimate goal. And they kind of hint at why, like a little bit of his backstory, why he's doing that. But there's still a lot of ulterior motives. It's like there's got to be an easier way to do that than blowing up the moon. You know. But it's a fun character. It's a fun show, and the concept is hilarious.
It really reminds me a lot of, like, I guess I'll say the next GTO of just, again, a really good, like, teaching anime, so to speak. I just also, as you mentioned with the whole idea of the school and the E-class, I really like the parody almost on real life. The idea of creating this 5% of the population that will be looked down upon, shunned, just to encourage the remaining 95%.
And that's the other 95's motivation to not be a screw up, to be a productive member of society.
And just the idea of, again, this teacher coming along and trying to break that mold, trying to get them out of that slump that, you know, even if they try, that the 95% are just going to push them right back down into it.
But there's also the inherent comedy of the rest of the teachers in that little small section are now also like highly trained Class A assassins. Like the linguistics teacher, that I guess
the busty blonde assassin,
basically the Black Widow, Agent Romanoff sort of parallel, because she's a femme fatale and she's like 22. And she fails so miserably, it's not even funny. And then she actually kind of has to actually give up and actually teach, because that's the only option she has left. It was the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen, and it was so awesome.
You know, I've been putting off reading that manga for so long, and you know, now that you guys are really giving it this much credit, I'm gonna have to rethink my decision to skip it.
And I should probably point out that I only give it 4 stars because it is still in production, and I'm only halfway through the active season because of the sub-dub, disparity there. But again, that's always subject to change, and it's starting out, it's 4 stars for me.
For me, I'm giving it 5. I honestly wish I would have come across this last season. This would have dominated my top at that point.
Yeah, it's been really good. I've only watched the first episode because I've just been busy lately. I actually haven't been keeping current on a lot of things just because of how busy I've been. So that's on the list of things I need to catch up on. Although that my things that I need to catch up on has started to dwindle lately. It's because a lot of things flopped really hard.
Yeah, I was going to ask if it was because you've actually actively caught up, or because certain things just got dropped because they weren't really worth the time.
Shall we move on to a dropped one then?
Yeah. I personally dropped Plastic Memories. I was really disappointed that they had to do a gag episode at episode 3.
See, I
with the amount of depth that they had the potential to show, and then doing a gag episode for episode 3, I was so mad.
what I'll say as a recommendation is give yourself time to get over it, and then just move on to episode 4. It got so much better on episode 4, and then subsequently into episode 5.
Yeah.
I still haven't seen episode 6, which released today. Again, I'm dying to see it to see how certain events have resolved themselves. It went from a 3 to a 4-star for me.
Yeah. It's just that gag thing, because I'm getting like, with as much as I watch now, I've gotten really sick of the crutch episodes. Let's say, like, the gag episodes where it's nothing just but like gag reels for 23 minutes.
It's literally just like a freebie episode that they didn't have to try as hard, basically.
Yeah, and like the beach episode or the sports festival episode. I'm getting really sick of them. If they happen like later in the season, I'd have less of a problem with it because I'm getting more story at the beginning. But when you force a throwaway episode into like the first 5 episodes, get out of here.
Can I ask you something? Is it actively a comedy series, or did this kind of almost come out of left field?
It started out really heavy.
Okay.
It started out really emotionally heavy.
All right.
And
I can see where that would be a little more jarring.
It lightened up in the second episode, where there was a lot more interpersonal relations between all the characters within the department, and then it was just gags. Let's do some gags. Let's do some like physical comedy gags. Let's do some situational gags.
I will admit, again, it was jarring. It really was unexpected. I decided to see what the next episode had in store, and again, my faith was renewed. But I can understand.
Yeah.
Well, to get on a better topic, you're talking about gag episodes. I'll throw out Edatama, which
that's a gag series.
I'll say hadn't released when we did our last episode, but it's if Deadpool created an anime. The anime is self-aware.
Yeah. It is very self-aware. It makes like the fourth wall jokes. Like they reference their own episode numbers. It's hilarious.
And just to give you a quick synopsis, it's pretty much the Fruits Basket style Chinese zodiac myth, the idea of the cat trying to join the zodiac and the challenges it has to go through. Again, it's hilarious, and actually, as far as I can tell at the moment, it has the most fluid battle animations this season.
I remember you bringing that up earlier. That is definitely going to be one I'm going to add to my queue and check out sometime this week.
What one I'm going to be adding that you brought up right before we recorded, which if you want to talk about the opposite of fluid battle sequences, was in
real quick. I give Edatama a 4.
Okay, sorry about that.
No
it was Ninja Slayer.
Mm-hmm. Yep,
which is very. I drawn parallels between
like C-Lab
2021 and Aqua Teen Hunger Force, and just
a little bit of Space Ghost Coast to Coast.
Yeah, I mean a lot of that. I forget the house that does it. Is it something 2020 or?
I forget the studio that does like that.
But they're based in, I think, Georgia, if I remember correctly. But it's a lot of the American like Adult Swim sort of like almost stop animation, like cardboard cutouts on sticks sort of. It ridiculously hilarious. There's even a couple parallels to older like G.I. Joe and Transformers with like some of the transition effects. It was hilarious, and it's a cool little bite-sized 10-minute episode. So I could see that being actively developed or eventually run on Adult Swim.
It actually gets a little bit better in one sense animation-wise. I have to wonder if they did the first few episodes on a very limited budget and then got some increases.
Oh, okay.
Or if they were just, again, saving. But either way, it reminds me so much of, like, in addition to Aqua Teen Hunger Force, like old kung fu movies, just how ridiculous the story is.
Oh, and the
idea of ninjas
the blood effects and explosions definitely call back to that. I mean, the blood effects especially, because like the like an arm or a head will come off, and it's just a sudden torrential stream of blood, and it doesn't stop. The entirety of the next 10 seconds the character is on screen, it's just a geyser of blood.
Oh, I checked it out on a whim, and I was just dying the whole first episode.
I liked the realistic flame superimposed onto the picture.
Oh yeah, all the quite like the Adobe After Effects explosions that you know it's awesome. I mean, it's almost like somebody animated it on Final Cut Pro on their like very first Mac or something. It's like I have an idea,
my first edit.
Yeah.
It's the anime version of Wacky Deli from Rocko's Modern Life.
But I mean, yeah, definitely. Some people probably will find it jarring and unwatchable.
That is. My wife and I are very like C-Lab 2021 and all those. I like Frisky Dingo. I love those shows. I love them for what they are. They're junk food. Just, I mean, this is utter crap, but it's amusing for the 10 minutes I'm watching it, and there's some funny stuff that'll stick with you. Yeah. She hates them. She cannot stand any of them. She can't. C-Lab 2021, Frisky Dingo, none of. She doesn't understand the appeal to me. But so yeah, I can see where that can be a very sort of you love it or hate it.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
I love it. Yeah. Especially like the really jarring transitions from like that fluid animation back to like cardboard cutouts on stick figures. It's so good.
And the frankly very polished CGI transitions between the two.
I thought the whole going
every sound effect and it's spelled exactly the same way.
It was pretty over the top, and it's definitely a good idea.
And again, being 10-minute episodes, it can be crazy, and you don't have to sit through.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I think that's for that sort of format, that's ideal because that like a full 20-25 minute episode could wear on you real quick. That's probably not a series unless you're in a really specific mood that you could burn through. Like you couldn't sit through the whole season. I mean, a lot of people I don't think could sit through the whole season. I love C-Lab 2021. I can still only watch like maybe 2-3 episodes at a time.
Yeah, same thing like when I watched Aqua Teen Hunger Force. It's just like I can watch like 2 or 3 episodes.
Yeah,
maybe
exactly.
I can watch like maybe an hour's worth. Because
but luckily that I can recall, Cartoon Network has never had the poor thought to put on like a marathon.
No. I think they understood what they had and they spaced it out properly.
Granted, they used to have, it wasn't like one of their blocks went from like Aqua Teen Hunger Force to C-Lab 2021 to Space Ghost Coast to Coast. And it was an hour and a half worth of
ridiculous animation.
Ninja Slayer.
Yes, but I mean,
but it was
there are different tonal shifts between the shows. Oddly enough, so I can see that still being workable because I think the same with the Brack show, which again, same studio, same development, same styling, but you know, you're talking about different levels of. I mean, Space Ghost was basically was a talk show.
We forgot Harvey Birdman, attorney at law.
Oh God!
You get that thing I sent you? It's probably just gonna be like yar.
You
just
should
get the
I'd like that.
The little bit where he's just punching the guy repeatedly.
Do it.
Yeah, that or the 30 cops jumping on the drunk salary guy.
That came out of nowhere. That literally came out of nowhere.
The whole voice sounds like it's a punk talking to the cop, and it's just this old salary guy.
So good.
Evil Teddy, do you like short, like the new kind of style that's coming out, like with the shorts?
I think they have their place. It's I do a lot of. There's a parallel here, so stick with me. I'm going somewhere. My wife and I collect card and board games, and there are obvious differences between the quick 15-minute card game or board game and the big epic, 2, 3, 4 hour board games. So when we do like a gaming, like when we'll do like a whole gaming day sort of thing, we'll do like the bigger games broken up by a couple of little games in the middle. So for that, in that sort of same format, going from like one super heavy or super comedic show to like something, something with like more depth to it, and then a couple things to break it up, and then going back to something else definitely has its place and definitely works well in the formatting of it. So yeah, I like the little bite-sized sort of stuff.
Have you seen any others besides like which ones have you seen?
Ninja Slayer is the first one that because I just saw it, it comes to mind. I'm hard pressed to think of outside of the ones we were talking about, or all the American ones.
Have you seen Tonari no Seki-kun?
No.
Tonari no Seki-kun is the master of wasting time. It's literally like a middle school classroom, and this kid just does the most ridiculous things while his the girl sitting next to him watches and reacts. Okay. And he doesn't even say anything. He just does weird shit.
Okay.
Like, he spends an entire classroom waxing and like filing down the surface of his desk, and then he finishes it. Like he varnishes it and like waxes it down, and like so it's like literally like the sun reflects off of it and like will burn something. It's like that's reflective.
Okay.
And he does all of these weird things. Like, he has like a battle with like little pieces. Anyway, it's good. Definitely check it out. It's definitely good. We've talked about it before.
Yeah, we've talked about it before. It's one of those just ridiculous, not like time waster animes where
it's like 7 minutes long.
Yeah, I think they're like 5-minute episodes.
Yeah,
or something like that.
There was another one on Adult Swim. Like I can't. I actually saw it. I didn't watch it. I saw it was on Funimation, but I can't remember. It was basically the anime style is very childish, but it was this little kid. And I can't remember the name of it though. It's going to drive me nuts.
You're very descriptive there.
Yeah. I know. It's I can't remember hardly.
Think about it.
But yeah,
I think I know the one you're talking about. The one that was based. I shouldn't say based, but had a lot with like religion, or like the claymation style almost, or were you thinking something else?
No, it was definitely. It wasn't claymation. It was still doing like animation. But it was another. It was in that same sort of format that they like to use, 10, 15-minute. Episodes. I didn't get real into it because it was basically just a kid getting into like stupid crap, and I think he cursed a lot.
Oh, Shin-chan.
Shin-chan, yes, that's it. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, that's the only other one I can think of immediately that comes to mind. But a lot of my experiences come through, admittedly, Adult Swim or Cartoon Network or. A lot of that. I mean, I found other anime since then. That's really what got me into anime in the early to mid '90s. Because I ended up seeing Dominion Tank Police and then Ghost in the Shell. They used to do like an anime Saturday sort of block, and I happened across them at one point, and that's what ignited everything. So. Admittedly, in a lot of cases, like I picked up Cowboy Bebop and Trigun, like just like everybody else did, Outlaw Star, that way. So a lot of the stuff kind of runs through that filter for me.
Yep.
But yeah, Shin-chan is the only other one I can think of, I guess at this point by name. So,
anything else? Any other new ones that we're watching?
I'll say as far as like absolute new that we haven't talked about yet, there was we briefly brought it up at the end of the last one, Yamada and the Seven Witches.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah,
which again started airing I think like the weekend after we.
Yeah, it's only on episode 5 now, I think. So
I think
it happened the week after we did the last episode, and it's following pretty truly to the manga. And the manga is actually kind of slow, if you really think about it, because it's not asking any of the really in-depth questions about like where did these witches come from? Are there more witches? What do we?
So they don't even know there's witches yet.
Yeah, they're still trying to wrap their heads around the powers. And we're not spoiling anything by saying they're witches because witches is in the title.
It's in the title, and I mean, hell, it said it in the description. It's a little jarring because the description really doesn't match what they've put out so far for the anime. It's
But you were saying though the one thing that really bothered you was no one's asked the obvious question.
It bothered.
Edge. Yeah.
It really reminds me a lot of the body swapping. At least reminds me a lot of the first part of series Kokoro Connect, which had this almost deity just randomly going with this group of friends going, hey, I'm going to put you in this guy's body and you in this one. And it, they freak out, obviously. It's, holy shit, I'm now so-and-so. How long is this going to last? Am I going to be stuck here forever? How do we get back? There was all these questions. And in Yamada, it's like they don't ask a single one. It's they find out, oh, we can do this through kissing, and that's good enough. It's like,
well, they do ask more questions later.
I'd hope,
but the progression of the plot is kind of slow, and it's not really about asking the questions. It's more about the interactions between the characters for the most part of the series.
So it's sort of like the toilet dilemma, where any popular sci-fi or anime or whatever is you like, well, but you never see them go. They never mention the bathroom. There's no bathroom like on where do you poop on the Starship Enterprise? It's not important, so they don't really bring it up. But from what it sounds like, like you said, the interactions are more important than those questions right now.
Are very good. I mean, that's what's keeping it afloat in my mind. I would have dropped it a long time ago if the interactions were bad.
Okay.
Yeah, but I got really far into the manga, and I don't really see a point to really reading it or watching it past the first arc.
Okay.
It just completely drops.
Recycled. They do a soft reset and basically just start the thing over from one.
Boring.
No.
Okay, that makes sense then. So basically, at the end of the first arc, you've seen the rest of the show.
Yeah, basically.
Or you've read the rest of the manga.
Like there's new characters that come along, and two of the characters are like Sid and Nancy characters. Sid Vicious?
Yeah.
Well, for any of our viewers who don't know who they are. But like there's new interesting characters and new interesting powers, but it's basically the same thing over
Gotcha.
again.
I'm giving it a 3. Again, it's average.
Yeah, it needs to pick up its pace, but I don't think it ever will.
I mean, hopefully, in one sense, they'll do what I like seeing actually, and make a different, go a different route than the manga. But
I don't think they will.
I guess again, just to shotgun these, we'll go real quick. Punchline. Yes, it's dropped to a 2 in my mind. The last episode finally started to redeem itself. I know we kept saying that, we were excited that it was the next, like, Gurren Lagann FLCL, like the next crazy
it's from
anime in that style.
It's from the same developer as
I think so.
Gurren Lagann, right?
Well, no, I don't think Gurren Lagann. It looks like it actually might be the same as FLCL, but I'd need to check that.
Fully Cooley or I don't remember. I'd have to look that up too.
Okay.
But
it's been nothing but gags.
yeah.
I mean, like literally, it's been 6 episodes.
I felt the same way with Gurren Lagann. It's one of those things where I was so really super surprised when it took the turn it did. What, like 6, 7
Episode 8.
Yeah, episode 8 exactly. And then it got like super deep and super serious, and it came out of nowhere, and that's not a bad thing.
No.
I definitely kept watching it, but it's just it was so drastic a change.
It was like a slap to the face.
Exactly. That's exactly what it was. It was. I was surprised.
I could see that, and part of it for me with Gurren Lagann is that it makes small steps early on, and then it starts making the big leaps towards the middle. Punchline, literally, it's like the first episode was really good, and then it just sits there. It literally makes no improvements. You get no character interactions, no story. It's literally just gags.
Yeah. Right. It's a disappointment that it didn't actually there's no meaning behind it. It's just
How many episodes are they in on Punchline?
They're up to 6 now, and the 6th finally put some story.
Oh, okay.
So, I mean, having to dig through 6 episodes, I'm even amazed I did it.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, that's a long, I mean, for something that's starting up like that, that's a long time to just sit idle.
Especially if it's only going to be 13 episodes.
Oh, wow.
So they've literally wasted
half a season. Wow.
Yeah. It's down to a 2, and it's dangerously close to being dropped. Pretty much the next time an episode comes that it does something I don't like, it's out.
Yeah. Triage X?
Triage X has been doing well. It's gotten dark. I don't know if the studio / the whatever channel it's on over in Japan gave them more freedom, but they've done everything from show explicit rape to public executions.
Yeah.
So
Shit got dark.
It's gritty.
Yeah. And I've been really liking how it's been going. I'm not up to current with it, but I'm so glad that they got over that. We need to have like this super in your face exposition all of the time. And tell and have the exposition be like telling things to characters that should already know what's going on.
The exposition fairy, basically.
Well, it wasn't even varied. It was very in your face, and it was only for the sake of it. This is exposition, and there's no other way to take this.
We don't have a more efficient way of explaining this to you other than just straight out explaining it to you.
Yeah.
It's done pretty well. I'm still keeping it at a 4, same as it had last time, just because it has a really bad tendency to monologue. And really weird situations. Like there's one case where a rival assassin gets, God, if I remember correctly, shot in the throat. And he still has time to monologue before he dies.
He's still capable of monologuing before he dies, which is what would throw me off.
Well, that's kind of his. It's like, he should have just been dead.
Yeah.
There was no...
How center mass was the throat? I mean, you don't have a lot of leeway.
Well, if I remember correctly, bullet came like through the side, so more than likely.
No way. No,
exactly.
there's no way. I couldn't. Yeah.
It's very jarring when they have those monologuing moments because it's very they go into like they have the standoff, like the guns drawn on each other standoff, and then they monologue at each other.
Actually, kind of come to think of it, in the same episode, that guy shoots a girl. And, you're thinking she's dead at this point. She stands back up, says her piece, and then kills herself. Where it's kind of like, why didn't you just kill her then if you were going to have her die anyways? So again, it gets a 4. It's still not perfect.
No. But it's enjoyable and it's interesting so far. I'm going to keep up with it as well. And hopefully it stays consistent and gets better and better.
Once I have a little time, I'll actually catch up on it. I do. There's so many that need to catch up. Like just this season alone, there's so much I have to catch up on.
I'm with you there.
High School DxD's 3rd season has
another one that I have to catch up on.
I'm halfway through season 2. I was telling you guys earlier, I burned through season 1 and half of season 2 in like a day while I was working. I was working on. I was building a new stream PC. But I just the whole time I'm working on this thing, I just have it running in the background. And I say running in the background, it took me longer to build this computer than it should have because I kept stopping to watch the show. I mean, it's like I just kind of threw it on to have something on in the background and have some sort of attention while I'm doing really mundane things, and that didn't work. And and for a show to take, I mean, I work in IT. This is something I'm good at. This is something I'm passionate about. For something to take that sort of attention away from something I legitimately needed to do for other revenue streams I work with is impressive, and I really like that. I love that show. It's amazing.
Oh yeah,
It's
Let
fun.
me put it this way: episode 4 of season 3 made me shit myself practically.
Whoa!
It caught me completely by surprise.
Merriam-Webster literally or Oxford literally.
Let's go with Oxford. But yeah, I mean, literally, they pulled something out that I didn't see coming, and completely made me forget about something that had happened earlier, which allowed them to alleviate that in episode 5.
Oh, cool.
Which
Yeah.
in anime is great when it can make you forget something and just go ha.
Yeah, because that the first season especially is kind of not rot, but I mean, there's a good couple of episodes that are just okay, that's entirely not what they said earlier, and and they adjust it and it makes sense in the story. It's not retconning, and it's something that actually makes sense. I don't want to give too much away, but I can tell you guys after the fact.
Yeah.
Admittedly, season 1 wasn't that great to me, at least.
Which is, if that being said, if you're saying that season 2 and 3 are even better, season 1 is really what kept taking my attention. So if that's the case, then personally for me, it's going to get even
if you like
better.
season 1,
I did.
you'll
You're in for a
probably
treat.
love
Oh, good.
season
Okay.
2 and 3.
Yeah.
But yeah, that stays a 5 on mine.
So good.
Yeah, it really is fun. That's one that I binge watched with Edge, and we went through in the weekend we went through most of the first season.
Say probably almost actually all 24 episodes.
Probably
that
almost
were out
all
at the
24.
moment.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awari Seraph.
No.
Fuck Awari Seraph.
Yeah.
Continue to fuck Awari Seraph. Actually, it can go fuck itself with my Sawzall while I pull the trigger.
Yeah. Fuck that noise.
That's pretty violent.
Oh, only if there's actually a blade on the end.
Oh.
Because there are other attachments.
Yes. Thank you.
So, my teen romantic comedy snafu.
Yes.
Still-
Let's cleanse once again with Snafu.
Still good. It's actually gone down a little bit.
I still think it's holding strong.
It's
but
still holding really strong, but the characters are starting to change, and like they're starting to want to be not what they are.
I think Yuki Noshita is the one that's having the most drastic changes in my mind. Hikigaya actually, if anything, is getting more and more reserved, pulling back into his shell more.
Mm-hmm. But after not this current episode, but after the last episode where he started opening up more, it kind of was like a reversal of his character.
A little bit, yeah.
But like after what's happened so far in this season, you can kind of see where he's coming from.
And again, minor changes are perfectly acceptable in my mind.
But the thing with it is it just went really hard and heavy from the very first episode of the season. So it's been actually kind of, for me, it's been kind of like a chore to watch and like remember everything that happened throughout the season so far. Without binge watching it, which is why I might like actually put it on pause until it's done and then binge watch it, because I want to keep up with everything that's happening in the season so far, but it's kind of hard when you're spacing it out by a week and watching 7, 8, 9 other anime a week. And then,
you kind of lose a lot of what's going on there.
yeah.
It's like when you read like 3 books at the same time. It's really hard to keep track of plots.
Yeah. All of a sudden, Harry Potter has got a towel and he's hitchhiking across the galaxy.
He needs some spice.
For some spice, yeah.
For some spice. He needs melange so his sleeper can awaken.
I'm just going to toss 3 out real rapid fire. These are the 3 that I dropped. Well, 4 actually now. God. Gunslinger Stratos, I dropped.
It
just got
so
2.
Yeah, it got so lost in its own bullshit.
Recan I dropped just because it's really not a bad show. I'll probably go back to it and watch it when there's a lighter season, but there's just so much to watch this season.
Going very quickly back to Gunslinger Stratos. The thing that did it for me was when they did the reset on the characters.
Oh, yeah.
Where these characters went to school where one of their athletic curriculums is gunfighting, and then
Which is combat in general.
Yeah, combat in general, and everything that they learned in school in training for this, they just instantly forget, and they're back to base rookies.
Yeah, they were the best in their class, and suddenly they're
base rookies who basically have never seen a weapon before, and it's just very. I hate it when series do that, and that's the point that
it was. Yeah.
So they just reset experience.
Yeah. For no other no other reason than the sake of having some sort of a plot.
It never interested me, so I never checked it out. Which I guess is good. I didn't have to torture myself.
It's not. And just to make sure I understand, because I haven't seen the series yet. It doesn't have anything to do with like building elite sleeper cells or anything. I mean, where it might make sense with the plot that they're elitely trained and then they completely forget everything.
The base of the plot is the 2 alternate dimensions of yourself have to fight each other in a past version of Earth to protect the future. Where the future has sent cubes back from the future to enable the alternate dimensions to fight each other in the past.
Oh, that one.
I'm going to need you to write a flow chart out for me.
It is the most
Circle.
It's a circle.
It's complicated as shit. And
Okay. Now that's why I didn't watch it, because it sounded too complicated.
I mean, really, the first 2 episodes weren't too bad.
I'm sure in practice, as you get it over the course of whatever however many episodes there is in the season currently, that might be a little easier to wrap your head around. But getting an info dump like that in one shot, yeah, that's a little hard to wrap your head around.
I mean, they didn't do a bad job explaining it. The only problem is that it took essentially one episode full of just explanation, and then subsequently that next episode was this drop where it made it pretty much unwatchable.
So explained everything and then immediately changed all the rules.
Exactly.
Basically, yeah. Anything else on the? We got to get through this list because we're
Arslan Senki, I dropped it. I'm not interested. And Denpa Kyoshi.
Oh,
It wasn't bad.
It was too wish fulfillment. It was too much
I
wish
don't
fulfillment.
even really see that, so to speak. It's just, again, I've got too much good stuff to watch at the moment.
Yeah.
So.
I told you it wasn't that good.
Yeah.
Well, again, it's not bad. I'll probably go back and watch it. It's just,
You'll get bored with it.
Yeah.
there's literally like 14 series I'm watching.
Yeah.
I still think Denpa Kyoshi just gets super boring, like a little ways in,
Because
there's nothing happens. It's all the same.
Well, a lot of things happen, but they're all resolved the same way.
Yeah,
And
he's like the Dr. House, but he's a teacher and an otaku.
The only thing I got to say about that, though, is that, again, that's a trope used in a lot of anime, and even a lot of good anime. Think about Irregular Magic High. I mean, how many times does Tatsuya win just because he's Tatsuya?
But Tatsuya is a more enjoyable character.
Exactly. So it's not necessarily the fact that it's that trope that's the problem.
Yeah, it's not the tropes of the problem. It's also because Tatsuya wins because he's Tatsuya, but the rest of the characters don't rely on Tatsuya being Tatsuya.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's the problem with Denpa Kyoshi, where all of the other characters rely on what's his face being what's his face, and I don't even care about the character because he's so one note.
Yeah.
Anyways, last but not least, is it wrong to pick up girls in a dungeon?
It's okay.
I like
Really.
it.
I mean, again, after watching the first 3 episodes, picked up the light novel that covered those first 3 episodes. The pacing in the light novels is good. It does leave stuff out in the anime, but I really have to wonder in one sense what the manga's doing, given, again, your concerns. It just sounds like they're almost just packing too much into the manga.
They're not packing too much into the manga. They're filling out a lot of gaps in the manga.
Dragging.
It's not even like dragging it out. They're doing a lot of filling in the gaps with the manga. But it's also very slow where they might not even get to the end of the chapters that they have in the manga by the end of the series. It might go beyond the manga
has.
Yeah.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me from the sounds of it, but again, I've been enjoying it.
I'm with Edge. I enjoy it. I think it's fun. I like it. Kind of reminds me. Did you ever see the Tower of Drauga? Where it's kind of, okay. No. Well, it kind of reminds me of that with more of like a video game element to it.
Okay.
It's very much kind of like Sword Art.
Okay.
A little
All
bit.
right.
A little bit.
It's got Kirito.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
Same voice actor?
Same voice actor.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, that was a gripe you've had recently. Is all the new animes coming out have the same like 5 Japanese voice actors, and they're all playing basically the same characters.
Yeah.
I don't know if Bell-kun is the same.
He's
as
not the same.
Kirito.
And is it wrong to pick up girls in a dungeon? It was the first time in the last 5 series that voice actor has been in where I went, hey, that's a different character.
Yeah.
Because since him doing Kirito, he's basically played Kirito in his subsequent roles. And it wasn't until Is It Wrong to Pick Up Girls in a Dungeon? It felt like he finally learned to voice act.
I agree.
Well, this goes back to a conversation we were having earlier, that it could just be partially the direction. So, I mean, it's
It
possible.
could be. And more than likely, they cast him for similar roles.
Oh, just keep going.
Okay, yeah, so more than likely, it's just the idea that they kept casting him for very, very similar roles and probably wrote, his lines and I shouldn't say forced him, but picked the takes, as you said.
It's almost like typecasting.
Exactly.
It's a this character was written or designed similar to Kirito. Let's get this voice actor and then direct him to be similar to Kirito. I mean, I think in a lot of cases the voice actors, and we talked about this earlier, the voice actors in a lot of cases will get the crap for it because they're the ones first and foremost in the public eye.
Continue on.
Yeah,
you can keep talking.
Oh yeah. I know. I was done.
So yeah, I mean that pretty much wraps up the current season. Took a bit longer than we expected, but
Yeah, so it took a lot of time. We did branch off into other conversations.
we
did.
And expanded on a lot of things.
Sorry.
But
it's always nice to have another opinion.
Yeah.
So we had talked about bringing up a more meatier topic than we usually do, something that we can sit around and debate a bit. Which the debate topic in question is the sub versus dub debate, and there's a lot that goes into this. Just everything from what do we prefer, how this is impacting just anime sales all over the world, and just what it's doing over here.
Funimation taking over everything has kind of affected.
Hey, fuck you. No, because again, honestly, I will say Funimation's been doing a beautiful job with it.
Lately they've been doing a fantastic job with it. But if you remember, like not even like 5 years ago, that they were just recycling the same core group of voice actors over and over again.
Right. No, but then, again, going the other way, the last couple of years, you can tell. I mean, there are quite prominent people that like we know of because of other stuff that have been brought in as voice actors now. Yeah. Like Michael Jones out of Achievement Hunter, and a few other people.
Yeah,
they're obviously expanding that catalog, and that's a good thing.
And that's a good thing, but it took forever for Funimation to realize that they needed to do that.
Oh, it did. But again, at least because it's really only Funimation and Sentai now are the two licensing and bringing things over. Sentai's been dropping the ball. They haven't been dubbing a lot of things, and they're asking full price. Why pay $60 for something that they've only done half the work on? Yeah.
And that's we were earlier we were talking about this. As far as the sub versus dub thing, I will kind of consume the media either way. However, I have dyslexia. It's not something that I can easily overcome. Now, I can sit there and I can read subtitles, and I can generally, at the very worst, get a gist of what was being said, if not exactly what's being said. However, I cannot split my focus between what is being said and anything going on the screen. So I'm either reading or I'm absorbing what's actually happening. So in a lot of cases, I feel like I have to go back and watch it, sometimes 2, maybe 3 times, depending on the complexity of the dialogue and the emotions behind that dialogue and all the implications of that. And there's not anything I can do about that. It's not learning to read better. It's the way my brain handles numbers and words. Now, that being said, if there's a show I really want to watch and there isn't a dub, I will watch it. And also, if I really get into a show before, say, the dub comes out, I will keep going with the sub because that's how I originally found it. There's that whole...
That's the connection with the characters.
With the characters and specifically the voice actors and those voices, because when I remember it, I don't remember if I've watched it subbed or dubbed. I just remember the feeling behind the words, like some of the dialogue and what was actually happening.
It's like how with Trigun, I have the affinity for the sub version because I that's what I started. I actually started with I didn't even start with the dub. I started with the sub for Trigun, and I got really connected with those voice actors for those characters, and switching over to the English dub, I actually found the voices to be really grating and off-putting.
Well, it happens.
It's the opposite for me.
No, it's exactly the opposite for me because I found Trigun, Cowboy Bebop, and Outlaw Star all via Adult Swim or some derivation of like Cartoon Network or what have you. So I originally consumed them in dubbed form. Moving over to the subs, because I've tried them, it's exactly the opposite. It's like Vash's English voice I have a preference to his, frankly, grating Japanese voice, in my opinion. Yeah. But it just came down to how I originally found the media.
Mm-hmm. And it's like that with the Outlaw Star for me. It's like I started watching with the dub, actually, and then switched over to the sub, and I don't like the voice actors in the sub for it. think that the English voice actors are perfect for those characters.
Well, same for me with Yu Yu Hakusho. I started watching that on like Toonami, and I really cannot watch that in Japanese.
Yeah.
Escaflowne's that way for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, like Escaflowne was the anime that got me into anime on Fox Kids back in the day.
Oh, it was terrible because those were back before DVDs. So you had to buy them on VHS, and if the store didn't carry the one run of it, you could have volumes 1 and 2 in dub, and then volume 3 in sub, and
That was always such a challenge. Was okay. I need season 5. I need run 5 or whatever. Of that sub release of the season, and no one has it. And I'd like to match everything else you have. And you're like, just it was just weird.
and then the internet happened.
And then the internet had
Well, you know what I gotta say? Thankful to every company involved in just making it more accessible to get anime over here.
Oh yeah, the streaming services in general are awesome because I just started with Funimation. I had toyed with Crunchyroll here and there, and then getting back into that. But yeah, I mean the legitimate streaming services, and then and of course the IRC style not so legitimate streaming services. But the thing is that just sort of points out that there are a lot of people, whether they want to import it or not, it's going to get imported. And then you've got people doing fan subs and all that, and it's just there's a demand for it.
Well, and even not the sorry to interrupt you, but even not the streaming services. I remember going into Suncoast, which that's been forever now.
I don't think that company exists anymore.
Looking at like a box set of say Dragon Ball Z was like $200 for a season.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
whereas now it's like $50.
It was inhibitively the cost was terrible. You were talking about was like $30
$30 for 4 episodes.
For 4 episodes.
4 episodes. I remember buying the Cowboy Bebop DVDs one volume at a time at $30 a pop. And when I went to go buy the last one, I brought it up to the counter, and the guy behind the counter was like, "Oh, we just got the Cowboy Bebop box set in."
Well, I was saying that was back in that day where they'd release one DVD at a time, 4 episodes, and then follow it at the last release with the box set.
Which of course with all the extras and the matching art, so with the box all matches.
With the matching price.
And now that everything's in like the thin packs, 'cause otherwise if you were collecting it back then, you're getting, I had all 36, I think it is, volumes of Yu Yu Hakusho. That takes up an entire shelf.
Yeah.
It's now in my drawer.
I say now with Blu-ray, it's yay thick.
Yeah, yeah. And a couple of years ago for gift miss, my sister handed me a package about so big by so big, and when she handed it to me, it like thumped. The reason what it was is it was the Trigun box set. It was the DVD box set, which is awesome. Yeah. And I don't want to know how much she spent on it because this is only a few years ago, but even at that, those box sets are still kind of on the pricey end. But just like the weight of it was like, what did you hand me, a shot put? I mean, it's because it's just one of those things.
Isn't the Fushigi Yugi box set still like $90 a pop?
Oh Jesus!
Ooh. The first one was $199.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah,
I'll say I don't know. It's I think still that much. I don't know what's the
Evangelion box set going for now.
Probably not that much.
Piss in a cup. Because that's about how much I care about NGE.
I do kind of want to, just to go on a small side tangent, I do kind of want to check out the new manga they've got for that. Because it literally is pulling almost like an Excel saga of the Evangelion universe.
Yeah, you were saying it
sounds entertaining.
What was the title for it?
It's Evangelion 3.0 You Cannot Redo.
Yeah, it's the
it's the third the
third and final movie
reboot of the series.
Apparently, they did do right by those movies, but
I heard that, but those movies came out so far after I had finished the original series and was just left so mind fucked. And everyone had their individual philosophical ideas, and I'm like, and everyone is what? No, I'm right, you're right. And I was like, I enjoyed the anime mostly, and then it screwed me, and then everyone's like just elitist about it. I'm walking away.
I did put one of those mindfuck animes into the Funimation queue. They had Haibane Ranmei on there, and as far as I can tell, it's just angels doing heroin.
What?
That's basically the series.
What? Wait a minute. What? Heroin? Angels?
You sure it's not? You sure it's not angel dust?
But back to the sub versus
We
dom.
can probably get back on topic.
Yeah.
We got way off topic.
Digressing like a mofo.
I do have to agree with you though, Teddy Bear. It's just I like watching usually the sub and the dub at least once.
Yeah.
Especially if I've already
And I'll always try them, but it really, like I said, it really goes back to how do I originally find the series? How am I introduced to those characters and that narrative?
I just find it hysterical that there are so many people. One of Lynch's exes that she would not watch dubbed at all. It had to be subbed or not at all.
There are the purists out there, and I'm like that a lot too, because I'd rather watch sub than dub.
I just like a lot of the, I guess I'll call it the little hidden gems that the English voice actors or the studio puts in. Odd one, Majikoi, that I let you borrow. When the main character is about to get jumped on by one of the females, in the Japanese, it's he wakes up, it says like, I sense danger or something. That was the line. In English, he wakes up, it's rape alert.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well,
that to me is just, it's funnier.
That's been brought up as like a main like pivot point as to the translation of the language, and a lot of people, and I think wrongfully so, have felt that the sub is closer to the original translation. But the thing is, you're still translating into a foreign language, and where a lot of cases, the speech patterns and even the basic rules of speech are drastically different.
Well, I think, in my opinion, really what I take from this is just the idea of them trying to change it to make it a little more entertaining. Another example would be High School of the Dead. When they're taking the Humvee up the hill, they almost land on the gun otaku. In the Japanese, he just kind of makes some grunts. He kind of goes like, oh, and then dives out of the way and just kind of is doing like the heavy breathing. Whereas in the English, he makes a Rat Patrol reference as the Humvee almost hits him. And then when he rolls over to the side, it's, oh my God, I almost got killed by an Asian woman driving. So things that obviously needed no translation.
That gets into like almost a localization. Is really what it is.
Like it's translating vernacular.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's making it more accessible for different audience.
Right.
And I think where a lot of people our age come into the issue where it's like it's sub over dub always is because after the 90s, where you had that string of really good voice actors through Bandai, then Funimation came up with, started coming out of the woodwork with kind of not good voice acting.
Yeah.
And and then they started becoming more and more pervasive with their not good voice acting.
But you had the classic Vince Magnana as every character in every episode.
Yeah. Vic, but
Vic Magnana.
though we don't want those fanboys on our ass.
No, I'd say really, if you're going to make that reference, you got Chris Sabat, who argues with himself in a lot of anime, but
Yeah, but it's just and we were talking about, again, we were kind of talking about this earlier, where I think in a lot of cases the companies that were doing a lot of dubs didn't understand the source material, so didn't understand how to do the voice acting correctly. I'm not necessarily giving all the voice actors an easy out, but a lot of that again comes down to direction and edit.
I'd say it was also just the fact that it wasn't really much of a job at one point. It
was definitely. I think it was more of a niche, a much more niche market than it was. I mean, the voice acting community is still very closed off and still very hard to get into. But at that point, I think it was more necessity than self-imposed. It was just, well, we do this thing and not a lot of people really get it, as opposed to now where we do this thing and so many people get it, we need to close ourselves off to avoid a rampant flush of people who just want to be voice actors.
Mm-hmm. And I think with a lot of it, like back in the early days of overdubbing for anime, a lot of the voice acting community was seen as Disney movies. Disney movie actors, where a lot of them were bit players with
or rampant overacting,
or celebrities. The only way you can get into it is either as like an intern or as a celebrity.
Yeah.
Do you think the video game industry helped voice acting in America?
Oh, I'd say it definitely didn't hurt, because obviously you've got the same stream of...
Yeah, but the thing is that's always been... more mainstream than anime. But again, those parallels for the voice acting are going to be very similar.
Yeah, but even then, I'd say almost that like a lot of the, I'll call them more socially acceptable video games, things like Halo, all that, they're not drawing from, say, the same pool of voice actors.
No, they aren't.
A lot of the video games nowadays are pulling from the old anime voice acting crew. Like Spike Spiegel's voice actor.
Yep.
God damn it, why can't I remember his name? He's one of my favorite voice actors of all time, and I'm just mind farting on his name.
Yeah, I do that all the time.
Yeah, but I know what you mean. Like Spike Spencer, I think, has done a few things, and then the guy who did Spike Spiegel, which I can't remember. Thanks, but I noticed him. I've noticed him in at least a handful of games because his voice is
Iconic.
It's iconic. Yeah, there's no way, and you can tell it's a different character.
He was
and
Rex in Mass Effect.
Right, exactly.
He was in Gears of War.
Wait, the guy who did Spike was Rex?
Yeah.
Really?
I think he was Rex or the no, he wasn't Rex. He was Grunt.
Oh, in 2
that's right,
and 3.
In 2 and 3.
Right,
he was
right,
Grunt.
Wow, he was Spike was Grunt.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
He's been in the animated Clone Wars.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, good for him.
Like that was basically his Spike Spiegel was his breakout role. And if you ever noticed, if you ever actually went back and looked at the credits, most of those voice actors did like 20 or 30 voices in those series because the studios couldn't hire more. You couldn't hire actors to play out more characters, so you had to do your character's voice, and then all these other big characters.
With the video game stuff too, there's also a much tighter production time as well in some cases. So they'd have someone come in and do their primary lines, and then a bunch of secondary lines as different characters, because you'd only have them for like a 4-hour block in one day, and that's really all you're budgeted for.
I mean, fortunately, they really haven't had to worry about terribly large amounts of voice acting until relatively recently, the past decade or so.
Actually, a really good documentary to watch about voice acting is I Know That Voice. It's by John DiMaggio, and he goes through and does interviews and behind the scenes on what goes into voice acting.
Is it on Netflix?
I think it is.
So.
I think it is. I think I've seen it on there.
I'm gonna write that down before I leave.
It's really good because it's got I can't remember his name. I'll think of it later.
Give up.
I'll think of it later, but it's
edit it into the video, just annotate it at the bottom.
Yeah, but it's Spike's voice actor. It's got Mark Hamill in it. John DiMaggio, obviously. Kevin Conroy, voice of Batman.
Yeah.
Lot of really other iconic voices in the industry. It's got Bart's voice actress.
Actress.
What's her name? I always forget.
Is it Nancy?
Nancy Cartwright.
Nancy Cartwright.
Yeah.
It's got Wendy Lee in it.
Yeah. And that's actually Wendy Lee is someone I wanted to bring up because we were talking about the old really bad dubbing in the 90s. And I feel like Wendy Lee does a lot of directing now. A lot of current animes, you see her as the English voice, like the English acting voice director. And I think that's a good move because she was around. I mean, she was Faye Valentine in Cowboy Bebop in the late 90s. I'm sure she's seen.
No, she was Julia.
Is she Julia?
I think she's Julia.
I think she was Faye as well.
I think she was.
I'm pretty sure.
But anyway, she's a veteran. You know, she's been around she's been in the industry for probably a couple of decades now.
Yeah,
and I think it's a good call to have her doing the voice direction because I think when they started out, you were right. They were looking at Disney, and that's really a more cartoony sort of voice acting, which is entirely different from what anime is. Anime is
no, she was Faye. God damn
that's
it.
what I thought.
Was wrong.
But and that's the thing. She has probably seen and maybe not something she wants to admit to have been directed to voice act that poorly or that badly. And learning from those mistakes, she can help avoid that now. So I think because there's more 2020 is hindsight is 2020. That being said, if you have this core group of voice actors that have had that experience and have seen that industry at its worst. I think that being the case is helping to create much better dubbing, in the current time frame.
Yeah. Well, I think like
You brought up a very bad example of that because from what I remember of Wendy Lee in like the 90s, she was actually one of the better ones.
No, she was. No, she was. And that's not what it... Well, I mean, she was...
The way that you made it sound is that she was one of the bad ones.
No, I wasn't saying she was the bad ones, but she was around at the time. Yeah. And every industry is somewhat self-analytical. So you have to know that they would look at other production companies or other actors and go, what the hell are they thinking?
Well, it's the idea. I get the feeling that for like a lot of the voice directors, they probably had people that had never done it before.
Exactly.
That they really have no idea what needs.
Yeah,
to be done.
and that's the thing, they don't understand because even as late as the 90s, because really anime's been around in the States in one form or another. To an extent, I mean, 70s, 80s.
Yeah.
I mean, you had
Speed Racer,
Astro Boy, all the classics. But it just really started. It really started showing up in the 90s, and that's when that dub explosion really kind of started happening seriously. But then again, there's that parallel to Disney. Everyone looked at it. Oh, these are kids shows. I mean, I remember when I was watching. When I started getting into it in the 90s, it's like, what do you want? What are you watching kids shows for? I'm like, no, this is not. This is not for kids.
Oh, you'll
and there's
still
that
get
whole disconnect. You still absolutely still.
Steve Bloom. How big of an idiot I am.
Oh God, how did any of us not remember Steve Bloom? Jeez. Oh man. No, but yeah, it's just one of those things where, and I think that may have been part of that disconnect. It was exactly that sort of parallel with Disney or Saturday morning kids cartoons.
There was a stigma.
Yeah, exactly. So, and I think that voice directing issue could have been more in line of, if you look at the dubs, they were much more cartoony. And that's what made them bad, because it's like trying to do a cartoon voice act on like some sort of like cartoony voice acting on a really serious drama. It's just not going to work. So you have two drastically different what's the word I'm looking for? Like a drastically different narrative versus how it's being portrayed by the voice actors, and I think that's why it was so historically bad.
Well, and especially combining just probably, let's assume again that the voice actors did no wrong, just for sake of argument.
Yeah.
So you have poor voice direction, as well as the fact that a lot of these animes, these early ones, were heavily censored.
Oh yeah.
And completely changed in a lot of aspects, including things like music. So again, if you no longer have the appropriate music and your voice acting's bad,
the tone completely changes.
Yeah.
Exactly. You've now completely shot what you tried to do at the foot, if not the head.
Editing is so much of it, it's not even funny.
And a lot of stuff was incredibly changes, but just by editing a few things, albeit very key things in a lot of the series. Namely, like Sailor Moon, they changed a lot in there.
Pokemon,
Pokemon,
Yu-Gi-Oh,
yeah, and there weren't a lot of changes, but there were very big changes.
I was talking about the I never really watched Pokemon. I always saw it as a kid's show, and then I found out much later that the original versions it's a much darker show. We were talking about, I can't remember if it was you or someone else I was talking to, that they were explaining a scene versus the American version versus the Japanese version. In the American version, this kid walks into this room and there are books strewn all over, like the place has been ransacked. In the Japanese version, he walks in and there's blood everywhere, like there's been a murder, which was the original narrative of that particular story, that particular arc or story or whatever. And in the American version, they completely changed the tone.
Well, it's the same idea. If I remember correctly, there was one episode that was completely changed because it had like a building collapse, and it was right after 9/11. So they were like, "Oh, well, we can't show that."
Well, I mean that happened in like
that happened in everything.
That happened in
everything.
Yeah.
Not everything got changed.
I mean, people were airbrushing out the Twin Towers in major movies that had been released 10 years previous.
Yeah,
and like understandably so. That was a major impact on the country and the world in general. I kind of get that, but at the same point, there did get a little bit of a weird. I mean,
as long
level.
as it's, in one sense, I'll say as long as it's us censoring that out, because that's in one sense I'll bring it up lightly, but we'll touch on it another time.
Yeah,
our desire from private citizens going up to the government to go and attack other nations and try to censor them. brings my blood to a boil. And again, we'll
as long as
discuss
that
later.
was like say the Funimation or whoever the company was that was importing and developing it for the
most
country,
part,
that makes sense.
For the most part, I think when those edits come over, it's the American side that's doing all those editing points to make it more Americanized or make it, because very, very much so, we don't really show a whole lot of sexual things on television, and we're all about the violence.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of other countries out there, Europe, for example, where it's the complete opposite.
Oh yeah.
Where I remember going over to Spain one time, and then at like 2 a.m, like public television would switch over to porn.
Yeah.
I mean, hell, you have, I've been over to Germany, you've got, like, naked billboards.
Mm-hmm. It's
part of the culture.
They're just so culturally different, and
but
their views on sex and nudity are just
but showing violence, it's very rare if like violence is shown on TV or anything.
Mm-hmm. You have to remember that America was founded by a group of Puritans that were so prudish they were kicked out of England. I mean, like that's literally what happened. They were so extreme. No, you guys got to go. So, and violence doesn't play into it because violence is a means to an end. But sex, oh no, we can't do that. It's a really weird sort of thing.
And a lot of it's changing the Japanese propensities over to American ones so we can relate to the anime. Or make it so that the WB can show it at 9 a.m.
Yeah.
Yeah, or to make, again, like my concept with, like, for instance, Pokemon was it's a kid's show. And that's, I feel like that may have been a cognitive decision that was made when they started importing that over to make it more broadly accepted. And of course, that's a demographic that's going to, it's going to consume. It's going to eat it up.
Well, they had already, I think by that point, they had already sent the video games ahead of it. And they knew that they were selling, really well. So it was, definitely pump this out for the kids.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is funny because mostly adults play Pokemon.
Well, it's a lot of the holdovers from when.
Yeah, well, that's I've had
Pokemon.
that. I don't want to say argument. I've had that debate with people. Like, again, I've never played any of the games, and again, I'm a little on the older side. They came out a little later in my lifetime. I understand the appeal. It's not for me, but I still look at the Pokemon games as target demographic 8 to 15. But I've got friends close to my age playing it, and I'm like, and I have no stigma, but it's like no judgment, but there's still that stigma of.
Because Pokemon came out when we were originally 8 years old.
Yeah.
I was in middle school when I got blue.
Yeah, I was in elementary school.
Bust that out to this day.
Yeah,
and I remember watching Yu-Gi-Oh and Escaflowne and Pokemon on the Kids WB.
No, Escaflowne was Fox Kids.
Well, it was Fox Kids.
What's the there's an old anime. It may be like late 70s, early 80s, but I remember I had a friend of mine.
Vampire Hunter D.
No, it was like a space battleship sort of.
Space battleship Yamato. Macross.
It wasn't Macross.
Harlock Saga.
No, I'm trying to remember what it is.
Irresponsible Captain Taylor.
Nope. It's it's going to drive me nuts. I might have to look it up now.
One of the old mobile suits.
I'll know it when I hear it. No, it was definitely like, I remember space battleships, not Gundam or anything, but
literally old school World War II battleships in space.
The design was almost that. Yeah,
space battleship Yamato.
That might be it. That might actually be it. But he had his my friend's older brother. Now I was in middle school, and this had to be. 1990 maybe. He had 20, 30, 40 VHSs. It spanned like a whole bookshelf, and I always kind of looked at it like, and this is before I knew what anime was, and I'm like, what is that? It's because it was almost like an old. You looked at it and you glanced at it, not really knowing what anime was. I just kind of glanced at it and I thought for a while it was like. Yes. Yes.
Space Battleship Yamato 2199.
Yeah, but he had like all of these VHS, and it almost looked like an old encyclopedia set if you just glanced at it, because it was just rows and rows of videotapes, and he kept buying them, and I just didn't get what it was, and then later I finally fell into anime.
I mean, even these days, when we're done, take a look over mine.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
You'll notice definitely the difference between the anime spines and any other movie.
Oh,
It's-
yeah. Mm-hmm. But it's just one of those things that blew my mind. It's like he's how long is that cartoon? And that's the only way I could equate it, was how long is that cartoon, and why is your brother in high school collecting it?
Because it's anime.
Yeah.
It's good.
Yeah.
Some of my favorite music has ever come out of anime too.
Oh, the Macross
yeah.
soundtrack alone. A lot of the newer stuff. What was it? Parasite.
The Maxim.
Parasite the Maxim. I like dubstep. You can laugh now.
Oh, so you're referencing Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas's "Let Me Hear" opening.
Well, there's that. The fight scene specifically. Dubstep, in personal opinion, dubstep lends itself very well to good fight scenes. The sort of frantic nature, the bass drops and everything for different hits and stuff works well. And that was one thing that impressed me with Parasite the Maxim, was their use of dubstep in the fight scene specifically. But yeah, like some of the I don't know if it was Bubblegum Crisis had some like really just cool old like synth and electronica sort of stuff.
The original one did, and then the redo 20 I forget what it was, Bubblegum Crisis
2040?
2040. That switched over to very like metal soundtrack.
Yeah, and there was one recently that I was watching, Dead Man Wonderland. The opening specifically, like there's just like a heavy like metal. The usage of music in general has gotten so much better now. I can't remember either.
I know the song's name is One Reason.
Yeah, but it was so good.
Fade possibly was the.
And then you go back to Bleach, and they had like a rotating.
Oh yeah.
Just shift of like, and they were at least serviceable, if not honestly good. Like I think it was Ichinen Nohara. I'm probably butchering that because I can't remember the
Ichirin no Hana.
yeah. I have the huge hollow remix of that, and it's ridiculously good.
Trying to get a little bit back on topic, but have you ever noticed how like a lot of the opening and then closing songs to anime have have started moving over to English vocals?
Yeah.
Did they start doing that again? Because I know they did that in the 90s.
That's
all the time.
They did that in the 90s, but it was so terribly bad English.
Oh, exactly. It's
But like now in the 10s, it's gotten to the point where a lot of the bands are legitimately starting to learn English and speak English pretty well.
So you mean okay? I got
And like
you now.
the Japanese bands trying to sing in
sorry, I
English.
thought you meant like in the English studios once again paying horrible people to do digital torture.
That continues to confuse my wife. She does not get it. She can't. 'Cause I think the thing is she starts listening to the Japanese, so she's in that mode of whatever I'm listening to, I'm not going to understand. Then all of a sudden they throw English in, and it throws her brain off. And she's like, I don't. Why did pick one or the other?
I mean, it's the same idea as why we keep using like French words and other. We just keep throwing other. Languages.
Well, I mean,
in our sentences.
Our language. Well, I mean, all languages in some generalization bastardize a lot of other languages to import into their own language, and English is terrible about that.
Yeah.
Both ways.
But as far as I remember, they use that a lot to just express, if they pick a particular word,
concept
it's
or a
strong
thought,
feeling on that.
Or if there's like no real direct translation to Japanese, they'll do that.
Right.
Like if it's very Americanized or Western Europe style of like concept or like abstract idea that the Japanese just don't have any context for, they'll use an English or a Western word for it.
Okay.
Off the top of my head, I can't actually like think of one right now.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, Attack on Titans, they used the word Jaeger
Yeah.
in the song.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, it is very fitting for that anime.
because I don't really think that the Japanese has an equivalent to like.
I mean, I'm sure they have a word for hunter.
But like for like the concept of what a Jaeger is.
Exactly. Yeah. It's
like the Germanic style of Jaeger.
Well, I mean that's the thing too with Attack on Titan, that the whole series is essentially based in, I think it's Germany?
yeah, it would
It's
be.
it's somewhere Eastern European. I think realistically the majority of that livable area I think is Germany.
Germanic, yeah.
Yeah. So and there's a lot of, I mean, if you pay attention, there's a lot of German and Eastern European names, specifically German names, and I mean the setting itself lends to it. So like I can understand that for to adding the word Jaeger as opposed to whatever the Japanese equivalent is, if there is one.
Yeah, again, that is ultimately the question, but
one of the series that I've actually started watching this season, Sound Euphonium. It's okay. It's a music one, but
It's about a bunch of girls
in high school, and they're trying to like redo like their school band or whatever.
Yeah.
Don't get caught up in the bullshit of whatever the anime is, because it's okay. But there's actually one character that actually speaks English really well. Like with really good pronunciation.
you should. There's one scene. Speaking of that, there's one scene in Amagami that you should. I'll show it to you at some point where they actually. It sounds almost like they pulled an American voice actor over to do it.
And how did we forget about Yamane Mai, the vocalist for the Seatbelt, the female vocalist for the Seatbelts? She did she does pretty much all of the vocal leads for Yoko Kanno songs. She did she did the ending for Cowboy Bebop, and it's sung both in like native English, Native American English, and in native Japanese.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, hell, you've got. If we're going to stay on that topic for just a little bit longer, One OK Rock. Again, they can go back and forth between perfectly enunciated English and Japanese.
Not perfectly enunciated.
Not all the time.
Because if you remember the song "Liar," they pronounce it Leia.
There are some,
There are some things that they don't pronounce right, but they
and I think some of their newer albums have gotten better with that. But
well, and they've definitely learned a lot more English to like start breaking into the American audience, and like it sounds like they've done a lot of practicing and a lot of learning to break into the American front with that. And they went on tour. They went on tour for the Vans Warped Tour.
I didn't even know that.
Oh.
That's where they were before when we went to see them down at the where we go Troc?
Troc, yeah.
Yeah. So like that was like their second show coming off the Vans Warped Tour, because they only did like half the Warped Tour and then went off to do a solo tour. And then they just went on tour with Yellow Card.
Huh.
So a lot of like, I think they're really making the push into into the American music scene.
Yeah, good for them.
Yeah,
It'd be nice to see more of them.
Yeah. And yet we don't have more baby metal.
Yeah, I saw that. They only have two.
They only do like 3 shows in the U.S. And
Yeah.
it's either L.A., Chicago, or New York.
Yeah.
Baby metal?
Baby metal.
What's baby metal?
Three idol girls and a
Idol death metal.
Yeah, it is amazingly fun, very very good, very serviceable metal with 3 like preteen
Not
female
preteen.
lead. Are they teens?
They're teens.
Okay, 3 teen leads.
Like Japanese produced idols.
That's the face I made when someone explained it to me, and I'll play some after we finish, because it's I'll play a couple of my personal favorites. They are and the thing is, in the metal community, because they were talking about this previously, there's been a couple of decent metal big metal shows that they've played, and you'd think that the reception would not be great, but it's they understand it for what it is, and it's like in the metal community, a lot of people
They
are just
really
this is
embrace
just it's honestly really good metal, and it's got a fun sort of like front to it.
I mean, honestly, metalheads are usually like that. Like, if it's good, it's good.
Yeah,
If it's
yeah,
bad,
exactly.
They'll hate you.
Exactly,
you know?
and it's legitimately good. It really is.
Like the really big metal communities over in Europe have like really embraced baby metal.
I'm gonna have to give it a listen.
Oh yeah, definitely.
125.
Guess we should
Yeah,
probably.
it's about time to wrap up.
Yeah.
So I guess in closing, since we were talking sub versus dub, start with you, Lynch. Sub versus dub.
I prefer a sub, but
You said dub.
I didn't say dub. I prefer sub, but it really depends on how well the voice acting for the dub is. If I'll enjoy it, but if to begin with, I'll watch it sub.
I'm the other opposite way. I will prefer it dub only because there are things that make it more complex for me to enjoy it sub. But that being said, depending on how I find it first and really get in depth with it, that's normally how I prefer to continue with it.
You have that sexy disease.
Yeah.
What is it, Kif?
Sexlexia. No, but I'll prefer it dub if I can, because then I can actually more fully enjoy it. But beyond that, I will take it subbed, and once I get into it one way or the other, I'll just keep going that way.
Sub, but I will occasionally watch stuff dubbed, but I prefer sub.
I gotta give it to both. I'll be that guy. They both have their appeal. Like, again, there's
admittedly,
the quality of the Japanese voice actors versus the just colloquial bits they'll throw in for the English. Again, it's just to make a reference to High School DxD. Just the amount of F-bombs that are dropped in the English versus just real no hard language. I'm sorry, when somebody's about to kill your parents, I'm going to drop an F-bomb or two.
Yeah.
Or 7.
Well, that and English is very more expressive with cursing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, and that's exactly it. So there are
Yeah.
certain situations where it just fits better.
What's
in
the old
English.
joke that a fuck is a hyphenate? It's
It's everything.
It's everything. Every word in a sentence. Fuck the fucking fucker. It's everything.
It was a Lewis Black joke where I don't use fuck as a word, I use it as a comma.
Yeah.
Well,
New Yorkers don't use fuck as a word, they use it as a comma.
Yeah.
No, I think he actually says he's like, I just use fuck to fill the space. He's like, if I don't get to say fuck, I'll be up here for 20 minutes. Yeah.
Well, I was referring to the old Carlin bit, where it's like he actually did a whole, like, almost English breakdown of the word fuck.
Yes.
So, and it's multiple uses.
Well, it does have multiple
The Swiss
uses.
Army knife of the English language.
And on that note, I'm Lynch.
I'm Evil Teddy Bear.
I'm Earth.
And I've been Edge.
Thank you for watching, and see you next time.
Take care.
Later, guys.
Bye.